Better Days focuses on providing legal and protection support to unaccompanied refugee children who are living on the streets in Athens. And most of them are at risk of trafficking, slave labor, organ trafficking, sexual trafficking. And we provide legal and protection support to those children that are living in the streets.
Looking at the refugees in Greece specifically, 70 to 75% of refugees are Afghan nationals. And of course, there's a lot of unaccompanied children among them who has fled the country and come here, and they live on the streets and the parks, open to all sorts of abuses and discriminations. So it is a great feeling that working in Better Days and being able to help them get out of those situations and find their way somehow to safe environments.
We've all seen these horrifying scenes of fear and desperation in Afghanistan that have shocked the whole world. What's been your response to seeing this unfold?
Well, it is a shock to everyone, just like everyone in the world, but it's a bigger shock for us because in the country, no one expected that we will go back to where we were 20, 25 years ago. And of course, not going back, but going this fast and rapidly. So this has been a shock when I talk to friends, family, relatives, and everyone back to Afghanistan. They are unable to speak even. Like the situation has caught them in a way that they don't know where to go, what to do. So it is a huge shock to everyone. And of course, you've seen the situation there, how people, the situation at the airport, in the cities, in the rural areas, it's a total chaos.
Are you afraid for your family and friends?
To be honest, yes, everyone is afraid. I can just tell you my personal story. Like the day that happened, my mom called me from Afghanistan, although we spoke like 3 days ago. And she called me like, hey, I just wanted to talk to you because no one knows what's going to happen. And I was like, come on, Mom, it's not going to be that. And at that time, the Taliban was in the outskirts of Kabul. And just in later 10 hours, they just get into presidential palace. And I was like, yeah, so this is something that they are on the ground. They knew the seriousness of this issue. And it really gives me sleepless nights in the last couple of days because you're not on the ground, but you get the first-hand information from those people, and it's really a mess. It's really dangerous.
What sorts of dangers are people facing in Afghanistan? We've seen people highlight the danger, especially to certain groups of people, such as women and girls, and those who've worked with Western forces. So what is the scale of the humanitarian disaster that is being faced?
Well, there's plenty, like starting from hunger, lack of food, lack of services, like everything. And forget about the rest. That's very serious and imminent when for people who are working in the government, people who are working with the foreign forces, even with the civilian foreign nationals who were working in humanitarian, legal, or different areas of government. So there are threats. Yes, you do see Taliban in a different way. They present themselves in a different way, more softer. They say that we don't have anything with anyone. They can join their work. But the reality on the ground is something else. Like I can give you an example. The other day, the banking system collapsed in Afghanistan because everyone just left their offices. So people ran out of cash. And then there was a chaos in the banks. So in the second day, they came to the banks and called upon the authorities to come and open the banks, try to start their services. But the condition was that no female cashiers, no female workers in the banks. Although the banking system in the last 15, 20 years in Afghanistan, the majority of banking employees are females. So this is the reality on the ground. What the political or the leadership of Taliban says in Qatar is completely different from what's happening on the ground. So this does affect a lot of people and to different degrees.
Yeah, we're also hearing reports of doors being marked by the Taliban in the evenings of specific places where women or doctors or students or employees. This obviously strikes fear into the population also. And I think for us, the disaster really is going to go into children's rights and obviously women's rights. And this is just going to grow, and we're going to see how this develops.
Western countries have already begun to make statements about the question of refugees, with French President Emmanuel Macron drawing criticism for saying his country should protect itself from a wave of migrants. Meanwhile, the UN's refugee agency has said that countries should take in those fleeing Afghanistan and ensure the right to seek asylum is not compromised. What response is needed from the world to ensure the safety of those seeking protection?
First of all, I think it's really important that we continue to observe and respect refugee and international law where that's concerned, which clearly states if they are in danger and they do need to leave, that we respect the ability to do so. On a personal level, I believe that European countries should be facilitative to that. And I think we need to be really careful when we're talking about the numbers, because the media is speaking about the numbers as if it's tens of millions of people. I think recently it's around 500,000 people that have left recently. This number, when you look at the size of Europe and the population of Europe, is again a fraction. So we need to take responsibility, especially for our actions and the impact that our actions have had on Afghanistan and the Afghanistan that we have today. And we need to take responsibility.
Yes, of course, there will be refugee flow, but that is not to that extent that the Europe is putting it up. The other day I was discussing with one of the friends, first of all, there's no way to get out of Afghanistan right now. And then you have 3 countries on your way. You need to go to Iran, you need to go to Turkey, and then you come to Greece. And there you just enter the European border. So the people that will get them through these countries are far, far less. And looking at the situations right now, people are suffering from serious poverty in that country. Literally, people don't have money to run their day-to-day life. So how do you think they will find money, that amount that's needed to give it to the smugglers and arrive to Europe? It's just, I believe this is just another kind of stereotyping one issue, one topic, just to play whatever games they want to play. But the fact is that, as Dan pointed out, the numbers are far lesser than they trying to present or show. I think the best thing that they can do is engage in more humanitarian work inside Afghanistan. They need to go in there, try to make sure that the basic needs of the people are met, so that those people don't get into a situation where they can't find food and water to survive, and then they finally take this hard or difficult journey to get themselves to a place where they can find at least the basic needs.
As we've seen from the scenes at Kabul airport, with people desperate to escape, the worry is that the Taliban are effectively sealing off the country. So in terms of helping those still in Afghanistan, how can people ensure that help reaches those who need it?
They still can find some local NGOs and partners that they are working inside. I mean, if you look at the local media or social media, mostly non-official medias and inside Afghanistan, there has been a huge endeavor to start charities and collect money and help those people who are internally displaced. They're living in the parks inside Kabul, on the streets. So internally, there are some efforts, although the country is in a mess and everyone is trying to survive. But it is there. The only thing is that you need to support them, find the right channels to contact them, help them in any way you can, just to avoid disaster like more than this. Because of course, the good thing is that a war hasn't broken out, a civil war hasn't broken out. It has been like a peaceful handover in many areas. But it's still, people are suffering from lack of food, from lack of water, services, the basic needs. So these things can be, I think people can lend a hand and find a way to help.
Yeah, I think that also, on a more practical level, also remotely, you can be joining pages on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. They're giving a lot of advice, and nowadays with the connection that we have on the ground, you can see what is happening, you can hear what is happening. So follow those pages, share the stories, do the research, and like Nasir says, you can find these groups and you can follow them, you can see what they're doing. I think that's also really important to continue to amplify the voice of what's happening there, and to keep it, to keep it out there.